Right, remember, now that she's the nominee, she's going to get to pick the person she wants to run with, presumably around the Democratic convention. Some of the people who have been mentioned, Andy Beshear, who's the governor of Kentucky, I think that would be an interesting pick, especially because he will almost certainly then be replaced by a Republican in the state of Kentucky. Right, the lieutenant governor of Kentucky right now, Jacqueline Coleman, she's a Democrat, but that's not for long. Right, Andy Beshear is kind of 1-1 in Kentucky. And so that means the next election cycle, that state turns entirely red. Kentucky is a very red state. She could theoretically pick Gavin Newsom in California. I think that's very unlikely. A double California ticket makes no sense. And Gavin Newsom is really, really radical. Just last week, he signed into law a law that said that school districts are not allowed to force teachers to report to parents if kids are questioning their gender in the classroom, which is totally insane. I mean, that is a form of child abuse, and Gavin Newsom signed that into law. So I don't think it'll be Gavin Newsom. The name that's been mentioned most often is Josh Shapiro, again, the governor of Pennsylvania. That makes a lot of sense politically because, of course, he is a very moderate Democrat governor from Pennsylvania, first term, extremely popular. The idea would be to take Pennsylvania off the table for President Trump. But, as many people are noting, Democratic Party's got a serious anti-Semitism problem. They're not going to nominate a Jew for the number 2. They're just not going to do it. I'm hearing that from people who literally are members of Congress inside the Democratic Party. Okay, that is not like some sort of weird, outlandish accusation by me. CNN's John King said the exact same thing yesterday. So, again, I really doubt it's going to be Josh Shapiro. Gretchen Whitmer is a possibility. The upside on a Gretchen Whitmer selection is that Gretchen Whitmer is, of course, a pretty popular governor of Michigan. Presumably, Michigan then starts to fall back into the Democratic column. It also exacerbates the gender divide. So one of the big fascinating stats about this election is that the Democrats are running well with single women, and Republicans are running really well with men, both single and married. And so you could see Kamala Harris try to double down on abortion and an all-female ticket by going with Gretchen Whitmer. I think it'd be a stupid move. I think she needs to diversify away from that. I think she probably will look for a white male. It's very similar to 2008, actually. In 2008, Barack Obama was specifically looking for a white male in order to diversify away from the fact that he was a black man. And now, in 2024, you would assume that she might try to diversify away from both black and woman and seek a white man in this job. So you might see her pick somebody like J.B. Pritzker from Illinois. That's a possibility. You might see her pick one of the senators who has not been mentioned so far, kind of go off the board there. I don't think it's going to matter all that much. In the end, it's going to be Kamala Harris, and it's going to be up to Republicans to try to define Kamala Harris. Get to more on this in just one moment. First, getting into credit card debt is really, really easy. But getting out, well, the system is not designed for getting out of debt. If you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills, you need to check out PDS Debt. PDS provides a service to match you with debt solutions tailored to your financial situation. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS has solutions for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies. There's no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair credit accepted. The fact is that getting into debt, it can be really easy. I have friends who have. Once you get behind the ball on that credit card debt, very difficult to get out. PDS Debt, however, has customized options for anyone struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills. They strive to understand your specific scenario. They can help provide alternative solutions to becoming debt-free. Save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. Stop waiting. Start saving. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/Shapiro. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/Shapiro today. Again, pdsdebt.com/Shapiro. If you got a debt problem, get it solved. pdsdebt.com/Shapiro today. So what exactly are the attack lines going to be on Kamala Harris? Well, J.D. Vance, who's the new vice presidential nominee for the Republicans, he retailed one of those attack lines in the lead up to Joe Biden stepping out of the race. He says, what exactly have you ever done, Kamala Harris? This is a good question.
Kamala Harris said something to the effect that I have no loyalty to this country. Well, I don't know, Kamala. I did serve in the United States Marine Corps and build a business. What the hell have you done other than collect the check?
Now, again, it's not going to be J.D. Vance debating Kamala Harris now. Now it's going to be Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. And that debate is going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating, number one, because Kamala Harris, she actually can hold herself together during a debate. You'll recall that early on, she actually did quite well in her debate against Joe Biden in the original primary race. And then she sort of held her own with Mike Pence. I mean, Mike Pence, I think, did much better than she did, but I thought that she wasn't absolutely awful. She's not going to die on the stage the way that Joe Biden did. Now, I do think that Donald Trump should prepare for a patented Kamala Harris random word salad, right? She serves word salads of all varieties. She's got like a kale word salad. She's got like a Caesar word salad. She's got all sorts of, she's got a Greek word salad, like all sorts of wonderful types of It's basically supplantation over there in terms of her verbiage. And so I would be very happy if Donald Trump would reuse the line he used against Joe Biden. He said, I have no idea what you said at the end of that sentence, and I don't think you do either. He can do that, except he can just say, I have no idea what she just said at the end of that sentence, and I don't think she does either, because that's still true. She is going to, be completely incoherent. So there are a few things that are really good attack lines against Kamala Harris. One, obviously, is the fact that she is a liar. She is a liar. She lied about Joe Biden's health. She lied about it for months. She lied about it for years. She went out there and she said over and over and over again that he was totally fine and wonderful and everything was cool and great. And it was a lie. And it turns out the American people don't like people who lie about that sort of thing. So that is attack line number one. Attack line number two is she's been fully involved, according to her, in all the Biden administration's bad policies. So she owns it. She doesn't get to pretend that she has nothing to do with that. She owns all of it. Most prominently, for example, the border policy. Joe Biden put her in charge of the border, and then she proceeded to go down to the Northern Triangle and declare that unless the economy of the Northern Triangle was healed, there was nothing they could do. And then she did an interview with Lester Holt in which she lied and said that she'd been down to the border and then was called out on it in real time. Here's your reminder. Here's what that sounded like.
There's one other topic I wanted to talk to you about, but let me just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
And then, of course, Kamala Harris is very famously awkward. And she's really, really awkward and difficult to watch, really difficult to watch. I mean, we've been mocking Kamala Harris's mannerisms for years at this point. And the random laughter, where she just starts to get uncomfortable. It's super random, not particularly likable, sort of Hillary Clinton on steroids. She makes Hillary Clinton look charming. Now, the difference is, by the time we got to 2016, Hillary Clinton had been in the American public eye since 1992. Okay, so that is a 24-year period in which Hillary Clinton was in the public eye. Kamala Harris, I don't even know how many Americans know who Kamala Harris is. I mean, seriously, most Americans can't name the vice president. So Republicans are going to have to do a good job of characterizing her. The good news is there's plenty of tape of her acting like a nut job. Here, for example, is Kamala Harris talking about coconuts famously.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Or if you don't like that, here's some of that patented Kamala Harris word salad.
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but just limited to what we have seen.
And of course, there is her radically weird attempt to laugh off any difficult question.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today. But I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
Right? All of this is going to come to the fore. Right? If you go back to her presidential campaign, she said she wanted to get rid of private health care insurance, for example. On the Middle East, she's a complete mess. When it comes to domestic policy, she has made many, many radical statements. She literally attempted to bail out rioters in 2020. Right? All of these things are going to come back. So an attempt to paint her as some sort of moderate is going to be difficult, which is precisely why she's going to attempt to pick somebody who's perceived as a moderate as her vice presidential pick. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.